Good morning. So much to ponder about as a Kenyan, and I'm just looking at a Gazette notice from the Salaries and Remuneration Commission that indeed confirms that, MPs, MCAs, executive, all of them are expected to get a pay rise effective 1st of July. And just to give you a quote is that the Speaker of the National Assembly and the Senate will see their salaries shoot from 1.18 million shillings to 1.2 million shillings, while the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly and the Senate counterpart will see their salaries rise from 940,000 to 960,000. This we're talking is per month. Now, members of County Assembly will witness a rise from earning 144,375 shillings monthly to 166,588. This comes at a time when Kenyans have been asked to brace for tougher times as the prices of cooking oil, soap, cosmetics, fuel have been on the rise. I don't know what you think about that, but we are open for your feedback. So, Mike, when he asks if I'm having a good morning, I can only say I'm having a good morning because I'm alive and I have my health. But then when you look at the state of the economy right now, I'm not too sure we're doing so well. And I have 3-4 pertinent questions to your panel, Victor, and allow me to share at this point. In regard to matters of governance, the President has already pronounced himself when it comes to matters of austerity measures. Are we ready to put action into the promises that we have been given on austerity measures in as far as budget cuts, given now that we have this particular wage bill that is set to balloon if this particular Gazette notice indeed is implemented as is? It has already been gazetted, by the way, to take effect the 1st of July. Secondly, with the current state of unrest, protests, call them as may be, what options does the government have? There's a lot of speculation, so I'd want to understand from a layman point of view, what would warrant the declaration of a state of emergency? The last time that happens, the first time was in 1952 by Sir Evelyn Baring during the colonial time, 1982 during the failed coup d'etat. Is there something like that in the offing? What options from a governance and law perspective you're going to be having that panel? And last but not least, the last time we also had a curfew, nationwide curfew, was during the COVID-19 pandemic, and this was to stem the spread of COVID-19, the virus done. So with this kind of unrest, businesses being shut down, Kenyans having this uncertainty around investments and how they can get to work, if indeed they're safe, does that then warrant for that? What options does the government have going forward? And last but not least, as we call for dialogue, what platforms should the executive explore? Those are my 4 questions to your panel. You can also send your questions to Victor ahead of that particular conversation that is going to be coming up in the course of this particular broadcast. And more or less, we also will be checking your feedback on our social media platforms. Our official handle on X is at KBC Channel 1. Now let's bring you up to speed with what has been happening in the last 12 hours. We start off with protests along Wayaki Way in Kangemi that turned violent as protesters engaged police in running battles, barricaded roads, and engaged in acts of vandalism and destruction of property. Police were forced to lob tear gas canisters and deploy water cannons to quell protesters who were pelting cars with stones, paralyzing transport services into and out of the city centre. Abdiaziz Hashim was there. Here's the report.
Tuesday morning along Wayaki Way in Kangemi, Nairobi. What were to be peaceful protests will quickly degenerate into acts of lawlessness. And for close to 6 hours, this were the scenes. Police officers on one side and the protesters on the other. The protesters pelted stones at the police. This prompted the police to lob tear gas canisters to disperse the demonstrators. At some point, the protesters lit bonfires and barricaded the roads, paralyzing transport. The black smoke from the lit tires visible from far. The crowds will then surge below the flyover, where they blocked the road with stones. This forced public service vehicles, personal cars and motorcycle riders to retreat for their safety, hindering free flow of traffic. The police called in reinforcements after they ran out of tear gas as the protesters attempted to push through the march to town. The police called in reinforcements after they ran out of tear gas canisters as the protesters attempted to push through to march to town. Four water cannons pushed back the protesters past the flyover to protect supermarkets, businesses and offices along the road. This as several people were injured, including officers and journalists. The police officers have stated that they will stay around the Kangemi area to ascertain security for the better part of this evening.
On social media, you must have seen that clip by Abdi Aziz where he is, tasting some bit of tear gas there. Well, we can say, on a very light note though, when you apply for a job, there's that clause, you can work under pressure, right? Well, now Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki has warned against politicizing crime, even as he faulted organizers of Tuesday's protest for unleashing an orgy of violence witnessed in the parts of Nairobi and Mombasa. Kindiki said the government is determined to protect the citizens against a reign of terror and impunity of dangerous criminal gangs, warning against anarchy.
Nairobi's central business district. Majority of shops remain closed early morning with little activity in the city center. This would change mid-morning as demonstrators began trooping into the city amid heavy anti-riot police deployment. The protesters would soon turn chaotic along Moi Avenue and Tomboya Street. The Nairobi business community has decried that goons who infiltrated the protests are targeting to loot their businesses. The business community, dressed in orange reflector jackets, worked with police officers to man their businesses.
Leo tujichugia biashara zetu kwa maana last time tuliona maadhiriko. Kwanza kuna duka ya rafiki yangu niweza container time ikivujwa. So tushajua na tushagundua wale watu wanakuja kwa hii maandamano si wote ambao wamekuja kuandamana kwa amani. Kuna wengine wamekuja na nia ya kupora mali ya watu.
Tunataka kuhakikisha kwamba tutaweka ulinzi vikakazivu tuweze kutunza hii area. Si tuko hii area mental house, tutahakikisha kwamba hakuna ukola ama uhalifu yoyote itaendelea.
Tunataka kusurround duka zetu hapa, ndio maana unatuona watu wenye wako na reflector hapa tunazunguka. Hao wote ni wanabiashara wenye wako na maduka hapa, ndio maana tuna surround hizo maduka, ndio maana tusiweze kuibiwa kwa hizo maduka.
Attempts by goons who had infiltrated the protest to enter into one of the buildings was thwarted. These as government critical installations remain highly guarded. On the other side of town, anti-riot police officers manned all entries leading to parliament buildings. The perimeter wall that was breached last week has since been reconstructed. Security was also tight at the Supreme Court buildings and City Hall, where distractions occurred last week. Kenyatta International Convention Center also remained closed for members of the public, and only staff members were allowed access. This comes as Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki released a statement warning the organizers, planning to repeat the anarchy, chaos and cruel plunder on Thursday and Sunday, that the reign of terror against citizens and impunity of dangerous criminals must end at whatever cost. He warned the government will stop criminals from terrorizing the public, notwithstanding attempts to politicize crime.
Now, this comes amid numerous claims by business owners as well as Kenyans and a section of leaders that yesterday's protests indeed were infiltrated by hired goons. We'll be keeping tabs on that and the direction that government is going to be taking going forward. Now, at least 30 people were rushed to Kenyatta National Hospital for treatment after they were injured during the Tuesday protests in different parts of the Nairobi city. Those with minor injuries were treated and discharged. This even as authorities blocked all roads leading to State House.
Tuesday's protest in Nairobi saw several protesters injured. The Kenyatta National Hospital received over 30 injured persons brought in by ambulances. Some had minor injuries and could manage to walk by themselves with little help from the standby medics at the accident and emergency unit. Others, however, needed to be ferried to the facility with serious injuries. And as the protests continued in Nairobi's central business district, roads leading to the State House remained closed, with officers standing guard to ensure no unauthorized persons or vehicles access the area.
So behind me is a processional way where, as you can see, from the time that we got here in the morning up until now, security remains tight where no unauthorized person or vehicle is allowed to access this road that leads all the way to State House.
Similar precautions are replicated on all roads leading into or near the State House.
The Orange Democratic Movement Party, ODM, has initiated the process of recalling 6 lawmakers who voted for the Anti-Finance Bill 2024. ODM Secretary General and Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna, who called the 6 legislators repeat offenders, said the party was forced to decide on their constant pattern of defying the party's political stance. The MPs are Elisha Othiambo of Gem constituency, Gideon Ochanda of Bondo, Emmanuel Wangwe of Navaholo, Bernard Shinali of Ikolomani, Karoli Omondi of Suba South, and Elijah Memusi of Kajiado Central. Timothy Kipnusu with the details.
The recent voting by members of the National Assembly on the Finance Bill 2024, which has since been withdrawn, has left 6 ODM legislators on the chopping board. The 6 legislators voted for the bill against the party's advice. The ODM, which held its Central Management Committee meeting today and chaired by its leader Raila Odinga, said it has begun the recalling process of the 6 for not towing the party's line.
ODM shall initiate and lead recall processes in the following constituencies in light of the current office holders' repeated violation of their sacred oath and the wishes of their electorate. The 6 include Elisha Odhiambo of Gem constituency, Gideon Ochanda of Bondo, Emmanuel Wango of Navaholo, Bernard Shinali of Ikolomani constituency, Carol Omondi of Suba South, and Elijah Memusi of Kajiado Central. The party said the decision will serve as a lesson to the rest. This is the criteria we have applied, look, and we want to be able to focus on these 6 as a lesson to all the others. The criteria was very simple. In our statement, we have said repeat offenders. Those who voted against the wishes of the people in 2023 and again did it in 2024 because there are few who met their Damascus moments this year. To initiate the recalling of an MP, a voter from the said constituency must file a petition with the IEBC with at least 30% of signatures of voters in the constituency, among other requirements. At the same time, the leaders called for the government to release all detainees who were arrested during the protest. The president must publicly direct his security organs to forthwith seize the ongoing abductions, an exercise that we believe is being undertaken with his full approval and the approval of the state. He must account for and order the release of all detainees abducted by these security agencies.
Now, from politics, let's have a sneak peek of what has been happening in the business world, where the East African Community has extended a year the zero-rated quota of importation of sugar, yellow maize and rice to Kenya. The East African Community has moved to harmonize the common external tariff by adopting 35% as a fourth top band rate. Goods covered by this rate include textiles and garments, cotton, leather products, and iron sheets, furniture, meat and dairy products, paint, ceramic products, and headgear. In a Gazette notice under the EAC CET 2024-2025, Kenya has been allowed to continue charging import duty on rice at 35% instead of the EAC rate of 75% for another 1 year. Wheat will attract a 10% import duty instead of the EAC 35%, while iron and iron steel products will be taxed at 35% instead of the EAC's common rate of 25%. Animal feeds will remain duty-free in a move expected to enable importers to increase their quotas. Kenya has also been granted duty remission on import of assembly items for mobile phones, smartphones and laptops, a move expected to support local manufacturing and assembly of the gadgets. Kenya will further apply a higher import duty of 35% on apparel and clothing industry imports instead of the EAC common rate of 25%, a move aimed at supporting Kenya's textile and apparel sector. However, baby diapers have been lined up for increased taxation as Kenya, alongside other EAC members, made a decision to apply a duty rate of 35% for 1 year and not the previous 25%. Kenya Tea Development Agency has announced zonal and national director elections that will be held on the 26th of this month as the agency wraps up its nationwide elections. Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mithika Linturi says apart from Theta Tea Factory, whose elections were stopped by court order, all other KTDA factories held their grassroots elections.
Kenya Tea Development Agency will have new directors this month after the agency completed its grassroots elections. The elections, that were the first to be conducted through a secret ballot by the IEBC, attracted slightly over 328,000 small-scale tea farmers, representing a 52% turnout.
Following the successful elections, the directors-elect will be presented in the Farmers' Special General Meeting for adoption of bona fide directors by the farmers in accordance with the Articles of Association of the Tea Factory Companies.
Linturi says the IEBC will still conduct the 26th KTDA directorship elections after the High Court ordered the tea agency to outsource independent firms to carry out the elections.
Elections mark an important milestone in the Kenya tea industry reform journey, whose desired end is to inculcate good corporate governance, transparency, and accountability in all the value chain actors, especially the farmers.
This comes as the tea agency refuted claims that it holds 200 million kilos of unsold tea at its warehouses, distorting tea prices. KTDA says that it can account for all its tea at the warehouses and none has expired, confirming it will not destroy any tea in its possession. A section of tea buyers have been calling for the abolishment of the $2.43 minimum price, calling for market forces to dictate pricing in a bid to make Kenyan tea competitive.
Financial audit firm Ernst & Young Kenya has been sanctioned by the World Bank for 2.5 years for failing to disclose conflict of interest and engaging in fraud and corrupt practices. The debarment is in connection with the sanctionable practices as part of the Somali Core Economic Institutions and Opportunities Program SCORE and the second Public Finance Management Capacity Strengthening Project PFM, second in Somalia following the investigations by the Washington-based lender.
Ernst & Young is the latest Kenyan firm to be blacklisted by the World Bank on any projects being financed by the bank. This is as the audit firm was found in breach of the bank's code of conduct relating to the Somali Core Economic Institutions and Opportunities Program SCORE and the second Public Financial Management Capacity Strengthening Project PFM2. The multi-billion shillings project was designed to help create an enabling environment for private and financial sector development and to catalyze private investments and job creation. PFM2, on the other hand, was designed to strengthen systems of domestic revenue mobilization, expenditure control, and accountability in the federal government of Somalia, Puntland State of Somalia, and Somaliland State. According to the case brought against the firm, Ernst & Young Kenya failed to disclose a conflict of interest during the selection and implementation of 4 contracts under the SCORE and PFM2 projects and the involvement of an agent in those contracts, said the lender in a statement. As a result, Ernst & Young Kenya's reputation stands dented as potential clients or even partners may keep off for fear of association with a tainted firm. This is likely to lead to a loss of business opportunities and a decrease in competitive edge in the market. The company has since also committed to continue to fully cooperate with the World Bank Integrity Vice Presidency if it is to get out of the blacklist before the end of the 30 months.
Now that report gets us to sports, where the national under-20 soccer team, Emerging Stars, have boosted their chance of qualifying for the quarterfinals of the ongoing COSAFA Cup after beating Zimbabwe 2-0 in their final Group B match played at the Isaac Wolfson Stadium in Port Elizabeth, South Africa. The 2 goals were netted by Gor Mahia's midfielder Austin Othiembo in the 54th minute and striker Banson Omala in the 73rd minute. The Kenyan team now lies second in Group B with 6 points behind group winners Comoros, who beat Zambia 1-0 in other Group B encounters. The Kenyan boys will qualify for the semi-finals only if they are ranked as the best second-placed team in the competition. So today, Namibia will play Seychelles, while Angola take on Lesotho in the final group matches. Both Angola and Namibia are on 4 points. The semi-finals will be played this Friday, while the third-place playoff and the final match will be held on Sunday. The Kenyan team was invited to take part in the event to replace Malawi, who withdrew from the competition.
Ross Austin Atieno! Goal to Kenya! Just like last Thursday, they are in the mood for another shake-up, another surprise. And that is the first goal that Zimbabwe have conceded in the 23rd edition of the COSAFA.
The national under-20 rugby 15-a-side team started their campaign at the World Under-20 Trophy Tour on a sour note, losing 25-7 to Uruguay in their Hive Stadium and in Edinburgh, Scotland. Now Mike Momalo netted a try for the Kenyan team in the 57th minute before James Olela added 2 points by conversion in the 67th minute. The Kenyan team will face the Netherlands in their next encounter on Sunday this week. And in another match, Japan thrashed Hong Kong, China by a massive 105-20 in the opening match of the tournament. The event has attracted 8 teams divided into 2 pools, A and B. Each team will play the 3 pool matches with the winners in each pool qualifying for the final on the 17th of July. The winning team will earn a promotion to the World Rugby Under-20 Championship in 2024. The teams finishing 2nd, 3rd and 4th in each pool will meet on the same day to determine the final rankings from 3rd to 8th.
Outside centre, Mike Wamalwa. And among the forwards. Kenya keeping things tight for now.
Tackle!
That officially puts a cap into Matters News this morning. Be sure to visit our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke. Now we get to the thick of things with Victor Olo as we put matters of governance and the current political state that we find ourselves as Kenya into perspective in this particular interview. You're welcome to give your feedback on X at KBC Channel 1. I'm Regina Manyara. Have a pleasant viewing ahead.